Good day. Today I'm going to make some gluten-free pasta. You can do this in a couple of ways. You can use rice flour if you've got rice flour around. And for every 2 1/3 cup rice flour, you would add 2 teaspoons of xanthan gum. What xanthan gum does is xanthan gum is going to give the dough the doughiness or the stick togetherness that you would get from the gluten. Instead of doing that, I'm actually going to use Bob's Red Mill, and this already contains the xanthan gum. I'm just going to do a little bit. So I'm going to use a cup of the Bob's Red Mill, and then I've got 3 eggs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to nicely do the 3 eggs. So I have scrambled my 3 eggs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into the rice flour. But before, I'm going to add half a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to mix that with my hands. And then I'm going to add the egg. May not use all the egg. I just want to make sure it's nice and gooey. So I'm going to show you what I am doing. All right, so I've got my flour, and I'm going to first mix my salt into it. Now, I'm going to take, and in the middle, I've left a little bit of a divot that you actually can't see it, but there is a little bit of a divot in the middle right here. So I'm going to add some of my egg to that, about half of it. And I'm going to start to mix that in. So really, these are nice egg noodles that we're going to have. So you can see that this is starting to clump. I'm going to add the rest of my egg. All right, we are now getting it to the point where we actually need to knead it to get all of the flour in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of flour that I have, and I'm going to put it on the countertop. And I have a quartz countertop here that you can knead on. You can also cut the pasta when you're done rolling it out onto here. So one of my favorite things about making bread, making pasta, is I love to knead bread. I love to knead flour. I love to knead the pasta. Now, I'm going to strongly suggest that if you wear any type of rings, go ahead and take them off before you knead, because they're going to get all gooey and they're going to be very, very difficult to clean. Been there, done that, cleaned that. Not necessarily a good thing. So we're going to knead this all up, and I'm going to try and get all of the flour that came out of that bowl into this so that it's nice and kneaded. Now, unlike bread, because there's no yeast in here, I don't have to let it rise. I don't have to really let it rest that much. So I used to do this on a just a large piece of quartz. It was a huge cutting board that my mother got me. And now that I have quartz countertops, I can do it however I would like. So I just do it on the countertop straight. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down, and I'm going to spread out flour, which I know is hard to see because of the white countertops, but you can see that there is some flour on that. And what I'm going to do is I am now going to roll this out. And I have an old marble rolling pin. And again, this is a rolling pin that my mother got me way back when I was in college, I believe. So it's been a while that I've had this. And I'm just going to start to roll this out. And I want to roll this as much as I can to about a 1/16 of an inch thick. Now, if it sticks like that, go ahead and put some more flour on it so that it does not stick to your rolling pin. So I'm going to roll this out as thin as I can, and I'm going to do it in different directions to try and get a nice clean rolling in different directions. So I'm starting to stick as I roll this thinner. So I'm going to add some more flour to the top because, again, I don't want it sticking to my rolling pin. Sticking to my rolling pin is not going to be helpful. So I've never done these egg noodles with gluten-free before. I usually do it with wheat flour, and I'll do another one where I use straight wheat flour for it, whole wheat flour. All right, so these are getting quite thin, which is what I want before I cut it. And behind me, I have a pot of water that was set to boil. So I'm going to cut these, and if you don't want to use them right away, you can actually cover them with wax paper for, a couple of hours if you're not going to use them right away. I like to use them as quickly as possible. And so I'll put them in the boiling water. And what I will do is I will wait for them to rise to the top of the boiling water. And that's how I know that they are done. So this is quite thin. See if I can get it just a little bit thinner. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a knife and I'm simply going to cut strips. Okay, I do not have a press for pasta, so I'm going to cut these fairly thin. This is still going to be linguine style because they're going to be a little bit thicker just because I'm not going to get them perfectly even, and that's okay. That's part of cooking, is not getting them perfectly even. So I like to, when I make these, any type of egg noodles, I like to do all of the cutting of the noodles first before I start to put them into the water. And this is a nice flat knife. So that I can get this. All right. Like I said, I usually like to cut them completely. So I will do that while the water's boiling. You guys don't need to see all of that. And then we will throw them in. Okay, all my noodles are cut. My water is boiling. So I am simply going to pick up the noodles and take them over to the pot. And I'm actually kind of rolling them off of the countertop so that they don't break into pieces. And I am simply going to drop them in. You can see that there are individual noodles going into that. And it really doesn't take long for them to cook. It'll probably take a minute or two, and that is it. It's much faster cooking than when you make pasta that is dried, okay, because this is moist, nice, wet pasta. So fresh pasta cooks very differently than dried pasta. All right, I will be back when I'm done cooking. It's been 2 minutes that my pasta's been in. So I'm gonna go ahead and use a pasta scoop and get my pasta out. You can see that there is some nice, good, long pieces of pasta in there. All right, so I have gotten our pasta out. And as I said, you can see that there are some nice, long, wonderful pasta noodles in here. So I'm gonna pull one of them out. I'm gonna let it cool for a second before I try it. Like I said, I've never made gluten-free rice pasta before, so this is going to be new for me. So this is nice and cooled down. So you can see that it is a nice piece of pasta. This will be nice and filling. With the xanthan gum, it definitely has the chewy that you want from an al dente pasta. So we have our pasta. Good eats and enjoy.